Hey everybody, welcome back.
Welcome
back to Home on the RNG. We're sorry for today's episode, but it's not our fault.
No, it's not my fault anyway. I mean...
Because today we're discussing Romancing SaGa 2.
Womp, womp, womp.
I am joined, as always, by Russ.
Yay, I'm here. I'm a little chilly, but I'm here.
It is over 90 degrees. It is Texas in the middle of the summer, and Russ is wrapped in a blanket.
Yeah, I'm a little chilly.
And, as often, we are joined by Chris Taylor.
Hello. I, on the other hand, completely nude.
Yeah, it's quite the range here in the studio.
That's how we usually do it.
I am only wearing a hula skirt, so I feel like I'm kind of between the two.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear it rustling around.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to try and edit out the rustle.
And the coconut shells smacking.
Sorry, I meant
each
I'm
other.
going to try and edit out the Russ.
Oh, okay. How dare you?
I make you drive all the way down here from Fort Worth and then
Dare you?
edit you out of the entire podcast.
Yes.
It would have been more
Like,
efficient.
have you ever seen the edits of Full House without Michelle? They've just like edited Michelle out of all of her scenes, so it looks like the family just has like a ghost that they talk to. It's very good.
That's pretty good.
Unfortunately, that's not what we're here to discuss today. We are here to talk about Romancing SaGa 2.
I would rather talk about Full House. Can we talk about Full House just a little bit?
I would too, but I'm going to try to be fair to this game. Because in defense of this game, I like a lot of what this game tries to do. I think it has a lot of interesting potential.
So it got the participation trophy, like A for effort. Maybe not even an A for effort.
B for effort.
B for effort. Okay.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move into what will probably be a very quick section, which
Yeah.
is personal history.
Yeah, I don't have any personal history of this game to the point that I like actively avoided it. Like before we even played this, I had read everything online that said like, this is the weird one. This is the one that you don't play. So I've played, had played 1 and 3. I played like the PS2 version of 1 that we reviewed some time ago, and 3, and I played like Saga Frontier and all of that, but I really actively avoided this one, and now I know why. Yeah, so this is my first experience. I played the version that's on the Switch, and this is my first experience with this abomination.
How about you, Chris? You got anything?
Not really. It's one of, I played a little bit of each of the Romancing SaGa games when I was playing a lot of Japanese stuff that was never released here, and I have played a little bit of it on the Switch, but I just didn't get very far in it. But that's not necessarily due to the game itself. It's more like that's just how I do.
I did
For
try
me,
to play
it
this.
is due to the game itself.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
what is happening?
I very briefly tried to play this game once before and did not get far. Tried to play it again for this review. Got significantly further, but this and Romancing SaGa 1 are pretty much the two games that we have reviewed that I was unable to finish because I was miserable. It was developed by Square and released in 1993. And weirdly, because this seems to be happening a lot with this show, just a week or two ago, they announced
Right.
that they are doing a remake of this game. I feel like
We're controlling Nintendo.
the amount of
psychically.
remakes of JRPGs that are cropping up either right after we review something, as we're about to review it, or as it's coming up for review has been ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I like our special powers.
I just wish I knew how to harness them.
I know, yeah.
I know Minstrel Song came out a while ago. Was that anywhere near when we talked about Romancing SaGa 1?
I think it
It
might.
was.
It was around the time.
Because, yes, it was, because I played on my PS2, but like right after we did that episode.
Yeah.
The remake or the port or whatever you call it came out. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I really do think I have always, side note, predicted the Princess Peach games.
Sure.
That first one that was on the DS, I was like, I would really love a game where you just play as Princess Peach having to rescue Mario, and then they did it. And then when they did Princess Peach Showtime, I was like, it would be cool if Princess Peach had another game coming up. And then they did it. So I think I control...
Why is there not Mother 4?
Well, I don't control that.
You only control Princess Peach
Princess
games.
Peach isn't in Mother 4. I
Sure.
only control her.
But she could be.
She could be, yeah.
You need to manifest Princess Peach RPG.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah.
All right. Let's move into what's also going to be, I think, a fairly short section, which is story and characters.
There was a story. There were characters. Okay.
Long ago, 7 legendary heroes saved the world from evil. Now they've returned to take over the world they once saved.
Is that what the game was about?
I think.
Okay, I don't know.
Based on the end boss, because I did make sure to watch the end boss
Okay.
fight, even though I didn't beat it. The game takes, it says, about 40 hours to beat.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about any of that because I played it for maybe 2 to 3 hours, and then I watched a speed run of it. So I'm not a good.
I probably got a good 12 hours in before I
Okay.
just went, I would rather enjoy my life.
Yeah.
There are characters but none of them have character.
No.
They are essentially all blank slates because so many of them are randomly generated. So here's the conceit. So if you haven't played Romancing SaGa 2 at all, if you don't know anything about what we're talking about, the idea behind...
I'm included in that category, by the way. So inform and
Yeah,
educate.
throw me in there too.
Yeah.
The idea behind Romancing SaGa 2 is you are the youngest son of a king of a small kingdom. Through a series of tragedies, you encounter one of these returned legendary heroes, and whoops, turns out all evil. And they kill your father, they kill your older brother, leaving you alone to inherit the kingdom. You then inherit the abilities of your father and older brother and are able then to defeat the bad guy, and then the story starts. That's the beginning of the game. The main premise of the game is generation by generation, the main character can pass his skills down to each subsequent generation, and you are to grow this kingdom, which is like one city. It's a pretty standard JRPG kingdom, into an empire that spans the globe. And you do this by finding hidden quests and recruiting more characters, building alliances, defeating enemies. As you build alliances, you change what the next generation could potentially be. For example, there are pirates. And when you encounter the pirates in one of the generations, there's 3 different ways to deal with these pirates, but one of them will make it so that your future offspring could be pirates. Same with monks. There's a school of monks, and if you work with them, there's like 3 different ways that you can deal with that alliance. And
So like wheeling back to the pirates thing, that's like Final Fantasy V, isn't it?
with the pirates join your party, except
Well, and that they're royalty.
yes.
Yes.
Except
Very good.
you were unlocking them as a class for royalty, but only if you deal with their scenario a specific way.
That all sounds like a really good game. So what did we play? That sounds very interesting.
The biggest problem I have with this game, well, to finish up what we were saying about characters, because each generation you pick from a list of like 5 auto-generated or random-generated characters, and what classes they are depends on what missions you've done and how you've beaten them. The characters have no personalities at all. It's like when Russ was playing Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and he just like made up a bunch of story for all the characters.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you have to do here.
Well, it sounds to me more like wizardry in that sense.
I have not played Wizardry.
Well,
Yeah.
you just roll characters with the dice.
Yeah.
You name them. Occasionally, you can pick their portrait. Usually, you don't even pick their gender. You just kind of go with the portrait.
That's about what this is.
See, I was excited about the generational thing because I'm a big defender of like Phantasy Star 3, where you have the different routes depending on who you marry and the kingdom you have and the kids that you have, and this was not that at all.
No.
Fire Emblem kind of has that too, right?
Fire
Some
Emblem-
of them.
Yes, some of them do, yeah.
But so there are generational skips through the game. Essentially, whenever you meet certain landmarks that the game has set, and when you're playing through this game, your landmarks may be different than mine. Matt, you can take quests in pretty much any order. There's a lot of freedom into what order you can take quests, I should say. But certain quests will cause a generational skip. Which quest caused it for you, for which generation, is going to vary playthrough to playthrough. When you skip generations, your new king inherits all the abilities that you built up with your previous kings. So you can kind of develop a well-rounded character that is good at everything, I think is supposed to be the long-term plan for your main character.
But none of them have personalities.
None
of them. They do not acknowledge that your father was the previous king. It is nothing. There is zero story to
And-
any of these characters whatsoever, and to all of the people that join you. There is no story whatsoever.
Yeah, because each generation, you have to go and recruit a new party just from wandering around the town or going to places where you have alliances and recruit a brand new party every time. And none of them have any personality at all.
I've become a gamer that kind of cares about systems more than story as I've gotten older, but this is too much. This is like, I still need some kind of motivation whatsoever, some relatability to the characters.
My notes for combat system and innovation go on for pages.
Have
and
y'all
we
talked?
haven't gotten there yet.
Have y'all talked about Paladin's Quest at all?
We may have referenced it once or twice, but
Yeah,
I've never
no, we
played it.
haven't. I've never
So
played it either. No.
Well, it's one of those games where you only have two main characters. The rest are mercenaries that you pick up along the way, either by hiring them or they join you through story. And even though they have no bearing and you can change them out, like they have more personality. It feels like because
That's
Just-
not a
just for the
high hurdle.
just for the fact that you can access a status screen, they got a little quote, and then sometimes they might behave in reaction to the story and stuff. But
Yeah, none of that here.
Yeah.
None of that here at
No,
all.
I was just
And
thinking,
at least
like-
there are two main characters. Like this is like there
there is no main character
main
because it
character.
keeps rotating, kind of like Records of Agorist. Let's just talk about games that aren't this game.
yeah.
Record of Agorist, also a horny game that I defend.
This is not a
That's the
horny
This
game.
is not a horny game.
That's
at
the
all,
only
no.
thing I know about Record of Agorist.
Yes, horny game.
I think it's on the list. We'll get to it eventually.
We will.
I've played most of the first one.
Record of Agorist War 2, the second one, is like one of my favorite strategy, like turn-based strategy games.
To wrap up this section, though, I do want to say, early on playing this game, the game is pretty decent about at least giving you hints about where quests could be and where story might be for you to go and investigate. It gives you at least a direction to go look in.
Emphatic
I
air
wouldn't
quotes
know.
on story there, I
And
guess.
after about 10 hours, that stops. And the game becomes what I hate the most. And it's one of the reasons I really don't like the first 3 Dragon Quests that much, which is I have no idea where to go, what to do, how do I advance this story, what am I supposed to do next other than walk around the entire world and talk to everybody.
See,
which
I
in
do
this
like
game
that.
is even worse because in towns, most of the NPCs share the same dialogue. You will go into a town and like 5 characters will just say, "Oh, it's a sunny day today."
Nice.
But that 6th one triggers a quest, even though it looks like the other 5 who share the
Yeah, I would
same
say
dialogue.
that's why, for me, it works in the first
That's-
3 Dragon Quests and not in this.
That's absolutely Daggerfall.
Every game but Romancing SaGa 2. Let's talk
Yeah.
about every other game.
Daggerfall is so funny with how it's just not important. The NPCs just just murder them and run from the guards. Like, you're fine.
Sweet.
Yeah. Like, they do not matter. They're randomly generated and stuff.
But let's go ahead and move on so we can get done
For the
with
love
this
of
review.
God, please. Yes.
Let's talk about the combat system. Just at a glance, it is side-by-side turn-based combat, so you think like old-school Final Fantasy to get an idea of the visual. As the game goes on, you learn different formations for your characters to be in, so they're not just in a straight up and down line. Formations are unlocked primarily by unlocking new factions, which, as I discussed, is done by doing certain quests certain ways, and then those new factions will have new formations. The formations come with all kinds of bonuses. Some party members are more protected, or move faster, or hit harder. Also, some enemy attacks will attack in like a straight line through formations. So if you know the attacks of the enemy or boss you're going up against, you can like adjust your formation to make you less vulnerable. Like
all brand new information.
similar to Final Fantasy II, not the Super Nintendo, the original NES,
The actual
Final Fantasy II,
2.
or Romancing SaGa 1, characters get better at the things that they do. When you recruit characters, they have strengths, and you can choose to build on them or ignore them completely. You can just keep swinging a sword, and eventually you become a good swordsman.
Theoretically.
Just like real life.
Just like
Yeah.
real life. You go out in the backyard, you keep swinging, and eventually you can win a street fight with a sword.
That's how I spend most Saturdays.
Like Romancing SaGa 1, magic is divided into categories, which are opposed categories. So you can't learn any water magic if you know fire magic, and so on down the list. I don't remember all the types of magic, and I don't care.
I don't care is my summary review of this game. I don't care.
Again, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in this game.
There
It
are,
just,
yeah.
For me, and there are people who love this game. There are people who were super stoked when they announced this remake.
Like Japan, the entire country.
The entire country of Japan. The reason it doesn't work for me is the lack of characters, the lack of story, and the lack of direction. And that makes it a miserable experience for me. But I understand there are people who play games not for those reasons. There are people who play it for challenge or for system, or whatever.
Yeah. I just don't think it has good systems.
Like the previous game, characters can spark new skills in combat. Certain characters are more predisposed to sparking new skills with their particular brand of weapon that they like. But in general, if you have a character do an attack with a weapon over and over again, it has a chance of unlocking a brand new special ability. And the first time they use that new special ability, it's free to use, and then it's just added to their list. Characters can also learn dodges. Anytime an enemy does a special kind of attack, there is a possibility that members of your party will see it coming and dodging. Then, as long as they are still in your party, anytime that particular type of attack is done by any enemy, they will dodge it, which is pretty cool.
That is abused in the speedrun of this game.
Heavily. I would imagine.
Yeah. The key there is as long as that person is still in your party.
Yes.
Because if you've gone to a new generation,
you lose
or
everything.
that person has died, then you don't have that person anymore. They can die.
I was just thinking about the Skate or Die title theme. Die. It's like, I'll show you in a minute.
Again, any game but Romancing SaGa 2.
Yeah. Adventures of Lolo. Let's talk about that.
Famous RPG Skate or Die.
Featuring main characters Skate and Die.
And Bad and Rad. That's the Game Boy game.
Yeah.
Well, Russ, you segued into my next point, Die.
Yeah,
Because every combat, your characters start at full health. But tech points, which are for special abilities, mana for spells, and life points don't recover automatically. Life points can't be recovered at all. Every character... At least not that I found.
There are like rare items. There's like a rare item that can...
Because in the original Saga...
You could stay at an inn, I think.
No. If you died and were revived, unless you were revived with a super expensive item that doesn't consume a life point, each character has 3 life points. And if you exhaust all 3, that character cannot come back.
Yeah.
But you can buy life points. They're just extremely expensive.
Yeah, that's how there's some item that you can... I don't even know if you can buy it. But again, in the speed run, this is the thing that I saw.
This game is... You're meant to not, by and large, not be able to replenish your life points in this one.
Well, I'm just saying that the life points are a Saga thing for sure.
Yes.
But in this game, it's not 3 per. Each character has...
in the Romancing SaGa games, the characters usually have different amounts of life. I actually like the HP and LP system that they use in SaGa games. I don't like this game. I mean, I like Romancing SaGa 1 and 3.
Well, here's what I think sucks, because if they fall in combat, they lose 1 life point. Sure, fine, that makes sense. If an enemy attacks their downed body, they automatically lose another life point, which is not okay with me. And then, of course, when they run out of life point, they are gone from the game forever. But there are plenty of recruitable characters available.
I think part of what I don't like about this one is because none of the characters have like any personality and they're all just kind of palette swaps, is like there's no urgency to like keep that character alive, like retain their life points, because you don't care about any of the characters. And I'm too old to make up the scenarios in my head that I did when I was like 11.
Russ is too old to have an imagination.
Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, so I only like that because I'm carrying those memories with me.
I think that Mystic Quest actually does have a good personality.
It does.
It's just not fleshed out.
It's not fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fleeing from combat is 100% effective. You always successfully flee from combat, but only the Emperor can flee from combat. So if your Emperor is knocked out, you can't run. Now, luckily, if somebody's knocked out, you can just heal them with regular healing magic and they pop right back up. But I found in my playthrough, if the Emperor went down, a full party wipe was coming fast on its heels. Because he's the only person who can get out of a fight you weren't ready for. And the more fights you have, the stronger the fights you'll encounter. So we've lost that ticking world clock, thankfully, that bothered me so much in the first game. But if you try grinding, you will quickly grind yourself out of your ability to fight.
Yeah. It's what's that other game? I already mentioned Chrono Cross, but
please, let's talk about any game. But
I was gonna say,
you know, in Chrono Cross, I didn't know that you could run from the battles until I fought like Evil Surge for the first time, I had 2. It wasn't Miguel, but it was actually Evil Surge, and I had like 2 white characters, and he was just decimating them. And I was like, I wish I could just run away from this. And I pushed the run buttons just as like a joke, and I ran away.
It's so funny how...
And I'm like, what in the world?
It's so funny how the game covers for you at various points when you run away from like even the most essential of battles. I love Chrono Cross and its running system. No, I was just thinking about what's the game that if you grind too much, then you end up in like a situation where you can't get out anymore. But...
Well, that kind of happened to me the first time I played Final Fantasy VIII, because I didn't understand
Fantasy VIII, it's a good one,
that the enemies were leveling up as I did, and I got to like when Reno was kidnapped and she's in the sorceress's body or whatever.
Adele,
yeah, and I like couldn't get past that because I didn't fully understand the junction system. I had been grinding up to level like 60 something, and so she was just unbelievably hard, and I literally had to restart the game.
Yikes!
Yeah,
that's a harsh lesson to learn. But yeah, I think Final Fantasy VIII was...
to kids in the 90s before the internet just like told you everything that you needed to know out of the box.
Myself, I just so happened to get the strategy guide with this game, so I was never at any point like confused about what was going on. Even the story, I was like, I get it.
This is a really great podcast about Final Fantasy VIII. And Record of Agarest War.
And Chrono Cross.
Yeah. And Wizardry.
I can go on about Wizardry.
Instead, how about we go on
Here's the list of games that you should play instead of Romancing SaGa 2.
Let's go ahead and talk about innovations. We actually covered a lot of these as I explained the basic premise of the game. What I have written down here is possibly the best way I can describe this game as a whole is it's a single-player MMO.
Yeah.
Right, which is
I
light
think
on
that's a
plot, but
disservice
there's plenty of
because-
places you can go and do things.
Because I play Final Fantasy 14, which is a single-player MMO. So,
I played Artifact Adventure Gaiden DX, which is a single-player MMO.
never heard of that, but I'm into it.
Yeah.
Now, Russ, you said there's not really a reason to get attached to characters, but I will say one of the reasons you may want to struggle to keep a character alive is because any skills that of surviving party members who survive all the way to a generation skip can then be trained into characters of the next generation in the castle. So if somebody in your party learns a really useful skill, I don't think dodges count, but he learns a really useful skill, you want that guy to survive.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
my
like in real
argument
life.
against it is that from a gameplay systems standpoint, great. But from like giving me a motivation to continue this story with these random nobodies, not good.
You can also improve your kingdom. Different emperors can use the city treasury to fund different projects. What projects are available depend on what you've already built, what generation it is, what kind of emperor you are. So an emperor good at magic can build a magic academy. One with high intelligence can build a school.
You know what I'm kind of realizing about this game? It's kind of like what Square figured out at some point after this is it's basically let's have a game where characters are random and nothing that your character does really matters apart from growing your place in the world. But then they were like, let's tell a story around this and not involve any of the characters. And that became Final Fantasy Tactics.
Sure. Yeah.
I mentioned that a lot of the quests have multiple solutions. Usually it's about 3. But I have an example here. Early on, there's a citadel you need to infiltrate. You can go for a straight assault, which is super difficult, and you're probably not going to make it. You can pay a guy in the town outside the citadel to sneak you in the back, but then he's going to betray you if you don't pay him even more money along the way. Or you can catch a thief in your hometown, which introduces you to the Thieves Guild, do them a favor, and then one of them scouts the citadel, leaving marks on the floor that help route you around combat and point you to where all the treasure is, and also unlocks thieves to be recruitable for the rest of the game. And that's how a lot of these multiple scenarios go is, there's 3 different ways to do it, but there's only really one good way.
One.
Yeah.
Like the previous game, you learn about new locations in the world by talking to people. But like I said, when you go into a town and the first 5 people you talk to say, sunny day today, you might not want to talk to the old lady in the corner who looks like 3 of the old ladies you just talked to. But if you don't talk to her...
Also in the corner, just all crowded in.
Only Janet knows what we're supposed to do next.
But which Janet?
If you don't talk to her, you'll never find out that there's a giant monster-laden plateau at the edge of town that you can then go to. All because you didn't talk to one lady in one town. We've talked
Damn it, Janet.
We've talked before, and usually it's in Saga games, about these games where diehard fans probably have elaborate spreadsheets for everything. This is definitely one of those.
You would definitely have to.
I mentioned there's not a world clock, but the game does keep track of the number of encounters you have. Like if you're building something in your kingdom, it takes a certain number of fights or a generation skip in order for it to finish being built. And quests that you don't finish before a generation skip can sometimes become locked out, changed, or more difficult.
Yeah, they also do that in the speedrun. It's an interesting speedrun. I would suggest watching that.
You know, it would have to be, because this is an interesting game. It has a lot of interesting and new mechanics. And I'm sure people who love this, who get into it to try and get the most out of those mechanics, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff here. I just wish it was fun.
Yeah, same.
I wish you were fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like abusing a good system. I mean, that's why Final Fantasy VIII is one of my favorites, because you can become unstoppable an hour into that game. But I like the characters. I even like Squall.
Squall's great.
I have a lot of thoughts about 8, but we're not here to talk about 8.
Let's dig in.
No, because my friend Jamie wants to be a part of the review of Final Fantasy 8.
I don't know, and I'm sure I've said this on another episode, I didn't know that we haven't already reviewed it. I don't know which games at this point we have and have not reviewed, and I always like the
Final Fantasy we've done up through 6.
Okay.
We
Okay. That sure. Yes, I believe you.
Yeah. We will be recording the review for 7 next April.
Yeah. But I've always, when I
Just in time for the
was a
third
kid
part.
watching TV shows, and then actors would be like, I never watched the show. I'm like, how can you not watch this? I'm like, I have no recollection of anything that has happened.
I don't listen to our show,
On
but
this
that's because
podcast.
I listen to it when I edit
Well,
it.
you listen to it when you edit it. I'm just saying, like, how can you not remember a thing that happened on, like, a show that you were on? And I don't.
Let's go ahead and move into music.
Okay.
Chris, it's all yours.
I have one line of notes that was handed to me. Released in 1993, developed by Square. And then, yeah, the composer
I
is...
said that at the beginning of the review. That
Yeah,
note's not
exactly.
for you. That note was for me.
I mean, I'm waiting for the soundtrack to be you to think it's incredible. So let's hear that.
Well, yeah, hold on. No. Yeah, no, it says actually composer Kenji Ito, best known for composing the Saga and Mana series, although he did sound effects for Final Fantasy 4 and 5. So that's basically all there is to say as far as the composer goes. No, yeah, this is Kenji Ito, who has been, at this point, has done all the Saga soundtracks except the first one, which was Uematsu. Yeah, there's the thing, is that unlike, just like the first Romancing SaGa, I would say it's a good soundtrack. I would say it's very good. Just not a lot of parts stand out, though, really. I mean, it's...
Did he do, like, Final Fantasy Legend? Is that part of that? Is that, like, part of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Final Fantasy
because
Legend.
Those are bangers.
Yeah.
Those are
well,
good.
so the first... Well, here's the thing. The first Final Fantasy Legend was Nobuo Uematsu, and I think Ito had something to do with it too, but I think it might have been all Uematsu. Then they split Final Fantasy Legend 2, which was Saga 2. Final Fantasy Legend 3 was developed entirely differently in the Osaka studio, and that's where we were introduced to Ryuji Sasai, who's the main composer for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
Oh,
And-
also a banger.
yeah. And then Final Fantasy Legend 3 also had Chihiro Fujioka, who later was the writer for Mystic Quest and the director for Super Mario RPG. So he's still a big deal at Square. And a drummer who puts out daily hand drum videos on Twitter. So I could talk all day about those soundtracks.
But this soundtrack.
This one.
Yeah,
you know,
Again, talking about any game but
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, Kenji Ito is the main composer now, for Saga up through, I want to say now even. Great composer. Like I said, like about the most I can say about it is I really like the battle theme, very slap bass heavy, which is always the mark of a good soundtrack.
As a bass player.
For instance, Lufia. Yeah. Lufia's got those, but they got those slap bass parts that really pop. And that's like this. But yeah, it's a lot of like, kind of layered classical, like really kind of epic sounding score, like, one would call it, rather than, something that's a little bit more, everything is distinct, which is like the hallmark of an Uematsu soundtrack. This may even remind you of a Final Fantasy soundtrack in parts, but yeah, like I said, it's just, having not played the game and just listening through the soundtrack, I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. So
it's a thing that exists.
yeah, it sounds perfectly fine, absolutely no complaints, but like I said, just not a lot of standouts or anything either. So
6 out of 10, no notes.
I guess so. I mean, six even sounds harsh, but I'm an overrater, so it's
Well,
maybe you're right.
Let's go ahead and move on to our final thoughts about Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
You want my final thoughts about Final Fantasy VIII?
No,
Okay.
I really don't. I want to know your.
Renoa was Ultimacia.
I want to know your final thoughts about Romancing Saga 2.
This is a game that exists in the world.
It's out there.
It's
how many
there.
Renoas out of 5 does it get?
You get like that one colored strand of her hair.
Out of 5.
Yeah, out of 5.
I'm gonna
Full
say-
Renoas.
I'm gonna say the printed angel wings on her sweater.
Oh, good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly this game is not for me, right? I hate when I'm playing a game and I have zero idea what I'm supposed to be doing next. I like a story with a strong narrative focus, which is not this game. The plot is almost non-existent in this game, and we didn't even really talk about fighting the 7 heroes, which is supposedly the plot of this game.
I heard something about that. Don't know what it has to do with anything.
It's about building your
That's-
empire and shaping the worlds you want. I have respect for what they tried to do with this game. They tried out a whole lot of new systems, and a lot of them are very interesting. I can understand people liking this game that aren't me.
Yeah.
I'm so with that.
Yeah, if you like to dig into systems and make spreadsheets, just go ballistic with it.
I'm giving the game
Balls to
a
the wall.
C+, which I honestly think is higher than I should give it, just out of respect for everything that they tried new in the game. That's a deeply personal score for me. Your experience could greatly vary. Yeah. You know what kind of games you
And
like.
For what it's worth, as far as my thoughts go, hearing this review, even though it's framed as bad, I'm like, I really need to get back in this game. It sounds all good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
on the upside, there's a remake coming soon.
Well, and I've got the original Super Famicom cart, translated ROMs, and the already out remake on my Switch. So I got plenty of ways to play this right now, and I think I'm going to. So.
It has mermaids. I was really hopeful because it has mermaids, but
Womp womp.
Yeah.
there's not anything interesting about the mermaids except them being mermaids.
And mermaids exist in the Saga series.
Yeah.
So do robots. There are no robots in this game, are there?
I don't know. I didn't play as much of it as I needed to.
Probably
That
no
didn't
change.
start until, I mean, that's in like Saga. Are there any robots in any Romancing Saga?
I don't know, because I
can't.
do know they start showing up in Frontier again.
But they're even, I mean, they're in like Saga 2.
Yeah, they're in Saga 2, and I think 3 even.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could become a cyborg.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know about the Romancing Saga series on robots.
I never thought about that. Interesting.
So let's do a quick round of plugs at the table before we head out.
Like hair plugs for men.
Is that what you'd like to plug?
I need some. So if you have any that you can give to me, that would be great.
I don't have any on me.
Okay.
You could rub one
Can
of
I
my
have-
dogs on your head.
That's fair. Can I have some of your hair?
No, I'm using it, but
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
It's a different color than your hair anyway, so
We'll see with like Renoa's hair. I think
See,
that
yeah,
would
you
be
could-
pretty.
yeah.
That'd be a good look.
you can have that one stripe.
I want to plug scuba diving because this year I got
Just blanket scuba diving.
yes.
Okay.
This year I got my scuba diving certification. It was around $600, then 30 hours of online classes, and then 2 weekends of diving, one indoor, one outdoor, and it is fantastic. I have never felt more calm and at peace than I do deep under the water. I loved I was about to say I loved every second of it. Every part of scuba diving sucks until you're in the water. Putting on the gear,
I can imagine.
traveling to the water, getting into the water,
Yeah.
then getting out of
It's
the
like-
water and getting the gear off all sucks. Being in the water with the gear is incredible.
So
That's
it's like-
most of life, though.
That's like Super Mario Brothers 3, the frog suit.
Yes, that's
So
actually an
much.
excellent analogy.
That's where it came from.
And coming up at the end of August, I'm taking a scuba diving trip to Georgia, of all places, because I'm going to be scuba diving.
The state or the country?
The state.
Okay.
I'll be scuba diving in the Georgia State Aquarium, which is one of the largest aquariums in the country, and I will be swimming with whale sharks.
Ugh.
Neat.
It's going to be fantastic.
I'm very happy for you. I panic if I put my whole head under the water in the bathtub. But I'm glad that it's comforting for you.
Would it feel better if you could breathe?
No, it wouldn't. I feel like I'm losing control.
So I took the classes with Princess, who was in. People who've been listening from the beginning will remember the Princess because she's been around since the beginning in the background.
Princess Peach.
Princess did not finish the course because she had an issue where she ended up taking in a bunch of water and panicked. And then the next time she went underwater, she couldn't tell her brain, no, we can breathe, really. And so she could not finish the course. Another person on the course burst an eardrum and could not finish.
Yeah.
And another person also panicked and could not finish. So I will say, if you take the course,
Don't panic.
Take the warnings seriously. They're not joking around, especially about equalizing your pressure. You will burst an eardrum.
Yes, and I will say that aside from my own like panic issues or whatever, I do have to put in earplugs anytime I get in the water, period, because I have problems with my ears and getting water in my ears. I'm a mess,
You're a
which you
mess.
knew.
Yeah.
But for all the listeners, I am a mess.
Is there
God was
anything?
drunk the day that he created me.
He's wearing a Dr. Pepper shirt, which I support.
Yeah, well, it is the number 2 soda in the United States now.
Is
Take
that
that,
what you'd like
Pepsi.
to plug today, Russ? Is Dr. Pepper?
You know, I will plug Dr. Pepper. It's quite good. It's the number 2 soda in the United States now. It has beaten Pepsi, which I think tastes like battery acid. So I'm really excited that that the masses are getting it correct now. That Dr. Pepper is good. I mean, I still prefer, like, it would be number 1 to me. I only like Dr. Pepper and root beer. And that, yeah, those are the good soft drinks. And I say soda, even though I don't think. I mean, most people.
I say soda too. I don't believe in the Southern aphorism.
Yeah, when you just
thing.
say Coke, Coke for everything.
No.
Because I actually don't want Coke. I want Diet Coke if I do have Coke or cocaine, and then I want
Diet cocaine.
and then I wanted Dr. Pepper or a root beer. Really, if I'm drinking a soft drink. So I will plug Dr. Pepper. Thank you for that recommendation. I don't have enough going on in my life that I can make plugs all of the time. for
Well,
things
yeah,
like
but
this.
you play video games, you read, you watch
I
TV,
do,
so
yeah.
you can always recommend something. How about you, Chris? You got anything you want to plug this time around?
I'm gonna plug the Analog Company because I recently, at least between the last podcast and this one, have acquired an Analog Duo NT, which is a Turbo Duo system that I now have. And I can play Turbo Graphics games, and it's a pretty cool system. I also have an Analog Pocket, which is a great Game Boy.
I was tempted to get one of those just because they looked so cool.
Yeah, I've been really, really enjoying it. I blazed through a Final Fantasy II on the Game Boy Advance Dawn of Souls remake.
I'm guessing you use
game.
like an EverDrive card or something.
No, it's actually, you can just put in an SD card.
Oh, okay.
And it's got OpenFPGA unlocked by default now in the latest firmware. It used to be locked away, but then Analog was like, well, okay, let's just not make this even more complicated for developers because people are just coming out with cores left and right. And so, yeah, you can get cores for like most systems leading up to like the kind of PlayStation generation. And yeah, you just load them up on a card and play them, or you can play it off a cart straight up. It has adapters for, Master System and Turbo Graphics. And yeah, I've just been really happy with it. Like, they're quality stuff. The company itself, I don't know if they're any good, but because a lot of the YouTube reviews will be like, I don't watch YouTube reviews, but I get recommended titles like, Analog's a terrible company that makes great products.
Isn't that every American company?
Pretty much.
Or
Probably.
like every company in the world at
Yeah.
this point?
Tell you what, next round of plugs, I'll think of an American company that is good and is making good products.
Challenge accepted.
Well, there's something to look forward to.
Walmart.
No.
Speaking of next time, I think this table deserves a palate cleanser.
Thank God. Yes.
Why don't we review an obscure game that nobody's really heard of, that we've probably never mentioned before?
So we're going to do this podcast from 1996.
No, 1990X.
Oh, okay.
From broadcasting live via recording
I
from
miss
Eagle Land.
1990X so much. And
broadcasting.
I'm not kidding.
Broadcasting live from 10 years in the future via phase distorter.
Yes.
Join us next time for the final, long-awaited discussion of Earthbound.
Yay.
Because God knows we need it after this.
We really do.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye forever.
The RNG is a presentation of Mad Centaur Productions. You can find Jeff on YouTube at youtube.com/Centaur Productions or on Twitter at Jeff Centaur. You can find Russ on Twitter at RussMac25. You can find Chris on Twitch at twitch.tv/LiarExaggerate or on Twitter at EnrichFlavor. Thank you for listening, and remember to save your game before powering off this podcast.